When writing a story, there are three basic but important factors you're going to want to establish: the character, the setting, and what's happening to the character. In other words, the who, the where, and the what and the why.
His wife goes out and owes money all over town and they pee on my rug?
They pee on your fucking rug?
They peed on my fucking rug.
That's right, dude. They peed on your fucking rug.
With some filmmakers, the setting is secondary to the character and whatever scenario the character finds himself in. The setting is purely visual, more of a cardboard backdrop for our story to take place against. But I feel that when done right, the setting of a film can be just as much of a character as any of the actors on screen. And two filmmakers who manage this really well is Joel and Ethan Coen. Because the Coen brothers understand how settings can affect how we see characters and vice versa, making the settings of their films feel much more distinct and memorable. So before thinking about when or where your film is going to be set, let's look at what we can learn from how the Coens take advantage of their settings. The first thing you notice in a Coen brothers film is they typically like to open on the setting first and then introduce the character second. Other filmmakers like Christopher Nolan often like to start their films by introducing us to the character first, and then immediately jumping into the main plot of the film. The Coens tend not to do this. They show us the setting first because it can tell us information about the protagonist and the story before it's even started. Take this opening scene from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? We start on the Mississippi horizon, showing us the vast wilderness that our protagonists will eventually have to trek through to reach their goal. Eventually, we reach the chain gang working on the rail line, showing us where our protagonists are coming from. And then we finally see our protagonists for the first time. But now we have assumptions about where they come from, and we know a little bit about the journey they now have to go on. Another example could be the opening scene from Fargo. It shows us the environment the characters have to contend and live with, and then introduces us to the main character and the central plot of the film. But what if we change things slightly? If we open slightly later, it looks something like this.
And keep your retirement and your so-called.
It works just fine, but so much texture has been taken off of the characters in the film by removing just that little opening bit. And showing us more about the characters through the setting doesn't mean you have to have some grand landscape or unique location. It can be something as simple as having a microphone to signal that our character is a singer performing live in a club. The setting of a film can even be given character itself. The Coens often use simple and sharp imagery to give a location characteristics. Let's say we have a character who moves from New York to Los Angeles. How do we show that to our audience? You could just shoot some shots panning left to right, aerial footage of the city, and some landmarks in case the audience doesn't already know where we are. This works, but it's pretty lazy, and it doesn't make the setting of your film stand out at all. Let's try to remember some basic characteristics which contrast New York and California. New York is often depicted as a gray cityscape. California is sunny with beaches. Now let's look at how the Coens might introduce us to California for the first time. If you ask me, this works a lot better. With just that simple shot, we know exactly where we are geographically, and how that environment contrasts with our character's old one. We can also look at how a setting may change depending on the period we're looking at it from. This is how the Coens show 1941 Los Angeles, 1951 Los Angeles, and 1991 Los Angeles. Even though all these films take place in the same city, the settings feel vastly distinct from one another. All of the Coen brothers films take place inside of the United States, and yet every location they show us feels fresh and exciting to see on screen. Contrast that with many movies where the location feels interchangeable. The Coens want us to remember these places as more than just a backdrop, and the care they put into making them feel like characters helps us remember them and makes the stories told inside of them feel more real. So when deciding about where you want your story to take place, try to think about, what does this setting say about my characters? What are some basic characteristics of this setting? And how can I make those elements stand out on screen?